What's up? Hope everyone's doing well. Today is going to be a different sort of video. What's up? Hope everyone's doing well. Today's going to be a little bit of a different video. Today I'm really pulling out my inner Duncan Kastner. Actually, I should probably light a candle if I'm going to pull out my inner Duncan Kastner. I have a candle lighter. I'm just going to light this real quick. Duncan, this is for you, okay? This candle right here. This is for you. It's scented eucalyptus mint. Don't really know what that is going to smell like, but hopefully it'll give us some decent aromas. Now I can pull out my inner Duncan Kastner. I think Duncan might be making a video on this topic too. I'm not sure. I wasn't even sure if I was going to make a video on this topic because it just isn't something that I tend to gravitate towards usually when I make content. This is more of a serious subject. But I decided that, I should probably talk about it, especially if it's something that, I personally have an issue with, or if it's anything that I think other people should know, or should be enlightened in some way. So today we're going to be talking about TikTok sensation Axel Webber. For those of you that are unaware, Axel grew to fame on TikTok for partly being poor in New York and also partly his very charismatic personality. But along with many other people on the internet, I have a problem with Axel's content and just sort of how he grew to fame and why. So I'm going to be breaking this video down into two sort of subtopics of the issues that I have with Axel's content. The first one being the glamorization of poverty, especially in New York, and the second being white privilege. Now, initially, I wanted to bring a more comedic approach to this video, but I can't drown out the seriousness with comedy. Otherwise, people won't really take it as seriously. So I really just want to give my full intention into this video. So let's begin. So again, for those of you that are unaware, Axel Webber grew to TikTok fame for having quote unquote the smallest apartment in New York.
Here's what it's like living in the smallest apartment in New York.
He sort of makes content around not having a lot of money in New York, being in poverty, having to buy small amounts of food.
Here's how you buy the cheapest food in New York City.
Now, on one hand, making content about you being poor is okay. At that point, you're sort of exploiting yourself for views, for money. That's okay. But in Axel's case, it comes off as sort of disingenuous because it's come to be known that Axel comes from a wealthy family. His family has money, and although he may not have money in that sense, him coming from wealth is an issue with the content that he makes. Just to kind of go into more detail, New York as a state has one of the highest rates of poverty in the country, and it should be known to everyone that poverty is not fun. It's not something that should be exploited for views. But Axel has admitted several times in his TikTok videos and his YouTube videos that he sort of came to New York from Georgia, where he lived with his aunt and his uncle, and they had money. He moved to New York on a whim to experience being poor.
I started this journey not really knowing where it ended. I was in Michigan working, packed my things in the car, kissed my aunt and uncle goodbye, which was very hard to do. And then popped in the car, and I drove here. Axel, why are you living like a rat in New York City? Well, thank you for asking, first of all. It's a personal choice, love. I'm actually just on a budget.
Now, obviously, Axel isn't the only one. There's this huge surge, this huge trend of influencers and young people moving to New York simply just for the experience. But Axel is glamorizing this poverty in a way that it shouldn't be glamorized, especially since he has the option not to be poor in New York. In one of his early YouTube videos, he was in his car. He had to stay in his car in the back of a Walmart parking lot for a week. And he admits that he could have afforded a hotel, but he just wanted to stay in the car for the experience.
Could I afford a hotel? Yes.
Axel, I hate to break it to you, dude, but many people don't have the option to sleep in their car. And if they did, that's not what they would choose. I promise you. Now, this glamorization of poverty is very dangerous, especially because of the amount of poverty to begin with is so high and not much is being done to sort of end that poverty, that making being poor in New York seem like fun decreases any chance of ending that poverty at all. If people look at Axel's content and see that he's having fun or trying to have fun being poor in New York, they're not going to want to help other people in poverty because they're just like, oh yeah, they can get by. If Axel can get by, then, you know, these other people poverty stricken in New York can probably get by. So although it's already present, this kind of forms an attitude towards poverty and homeless people just in general that can be very careless and makes people feel like they don't have to help in general. Now, there is a content creator on TikTok who had a very similar experience with gaining popularity. His name is Jonathan Moss, and the way that he sort of grew to popularity was he was homeless and in poverty. And he made TikToks surrounding that and surrounding his life.
So I was talking to a couple people and somebody messaged me and it was like, hey, are you homeless? That really made me think, am I homeless? Like, so many people across the world open up their homes to me. There's so many places that if I had an ability to go, I would go and like be able to live. So am I homeless or am I forever camping?
He sort of did what Axel does now, except being homeless wasn't his choice. It wasn't a choice that he made on a whim. It was his life. So he exploited his life for popularity, for money, and now he's living, I assume, comfortably. Whereas Axel was living very comfortably, and he decided to go out on a whim and not live comfortably by his own choice. So all of that in itself falls within why glamorizing poverty is not okay, especially in New York. Now, as much as this is probably unintentional on Axel's part, he does need to be called out just so that he can at least see what he's doing if he doesn't know already. Okay, so now I want to move on to the white privilege of it all. As I mentioned in my Andrew video, every like couple of months or every like year or so, the internet decides to choose a random white person to just worship and drool over. And you know, Andrew Garfield was one of those white men that the internet had chosen. And now Axel is definitely on that list. He grew to popularity super quickly. Again, you know, his personality was a big part, but at least off the top of my head, I can't think of any people of color that have ever been as popular as any of like the Andrew Garfields, the Tom Hollands, the Leonardo DiCaprios. It just bothers me a lot. And if you can name one for me that went through a phase that was as popular as any of the white people that I've named, then okay. But off the top of my head, I cannot think of any. Now, the white privilege is, whoa, look at this piece of hair. It's just defying gravity right now. I need a haircut. Holy shit. Go down. Go down. Stay. Okay, what was I talking about? Right, so the white privilege is extremely blatant, and it's a very good example of just white privilege in itself. Axel, he was given many opportunities early on. He applied to Juilliard, one of the most prestigious acting universities in the country, with no acting experience, and he didn't get in. And at that point, he had already amassed like 1 million followers, so all of his fans harassed Juilliard on like Yelp and their Instagram. And it got so bad that there was a memorial post that Juilliard had put up on their Instagram account where they were commemorating a black woman that had unfortunately passed away. And all the comments were just people harassing Juilliard about Axel and complaining and, you know, demanding that Axel be let into Juilliard and all of this bullshit. And it's actually so saddening to see that even on a post about someone that had passed away, people were still just harassing Juilliard, which again, Juilliard is a school. They have the right to reject, you know, their applicants. And now that people have harassed Juilliard, they're definitely not gonna let Axel in. But the white privilege doesn't end there. After he gets rejected from Juilliard, he had a New York Times article written about him. So it's safe to say that Axel is famous now, obviously. He's still making content about not having money in New York when he has 2 million followers on TikTok, 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, you know, like 100,000 followers on Instagram. If he hasn't already, he's definitely able to make money. But again, like I said earlier, he's choosing to remain in poverty for the experience. And not only did he get a New York Times article written about him, he got a modeling gig just handed to him with no experience. There are thousands and thousands of people of color in the modeling industry that are trying to consistently get a modeling gig, and they actually have to work for it, whereas Axel gets handed a modeling gig with, again, no experience, just because he grew to popularity quickly and because he's white, as unfortunate as it is. The way he sort of romanticizes his life in New York throws away all of the work that people of color have put in to de-romanticize poverty in a way that it is extremely harmful. Like I said earlier, again, I keep going back to things, but putting it in people's head that being in poverty is fun and enjoyable and you can get by is not a good thing to put in people's head. It's not a choice for people. It isn't. Unfortunately, trends like Axel that come about are systemically embedded in our society, and we're gonna see them again. And not only that, but because Axel has amassed this huge following, a lot of famous celebrities have stitched him on TikTok, like Charlie Puth, the creator of Euphoria, because they genuinely think that Axel is a hardworking actor that has experience and tried to get into Juilliard, only for the reality to be that it's not that at all. Axel moved to New York on a whim. He's not in poverty. He's choosing to experience poverty. He doesn't have acting experience. He doesn't have modeling experience. Yet here we are. And he sort of has all of these things. So I guess to end it, Axel exploiting poverty is, you know, conclusively not good. Is there anything that we can really do about it besides call them out? Not really. We can't really stop people from capitalizing off of the things that they want to capitalize, especially when, you know, their fans will blindly follow them to the ends of the earth, or in this case, Juilliard's Instagram feed. Yeah, I'm sorry for the pretty serious video this week, guys. This is gonna happen once in a while. I'm gonna have to sit down and talk about something serious, because I do firmly believe that if something is morally incorrect, then I'm gonna call it out, because I do have a following now, and with that following I gain a responsibility. So here I am fulfilling that responsibility. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. I promise a more joyful and upbeat video next week. But yeah, make sure you guys follow my Twitch, my Twitter, my Instagram. Again, if you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.